is time for a front door fall refresh. Hey crafters, I'm here at Hobby Lobby with my mom, so she has an assignment for me today. What are we going in to look for?
Well, I want a wreath on my front door, a fall wreath. So we're here to pick out items to make a fall wreath.
Do you have any kind of vision for this wreath, or are we just going in and seeing what speaks to us?
We're just winging it. Just see what speaks to me.
Alright, so we're here at Hobby Lobby. I thought I'd just film this little fun adventure. I guess it'll be kind of a vlog, kind of a tutorial. We'll see what we end up with. Of course, I'll have to check the yarn, but let's go shopping. Okay, let's start by finding the base, because that's going to determine.
So we gotta go the other way?
Well, I don't know which way the bases are.
I thought it would all be this way. That looks like Christmas.
Well, this is like florals and stuff here in the center and displays. And then behind us is the aisles, though.
Ready-made wreath.
Alright, guys, here's an easy DIY. Step 1, drive to the store. Step 2, pick it up the shelf. Step 3, check out. But first, let's get distracted by the Christmas stuff.
It's the most wonderful time of the year.
Have yourself a merry little Christmas. That's so cute, though.
Are you sure we don't need more Christmas stuff?
No, we need more. We definitely need more. Well, because what I thought you said is if we get like a garland and kind of make it into the base of the wreath around a wire thing, or we can use something like this and you put the floral picks and stuff in there. You want to show how we're going to like wrap it in there, or thinking?
Well,
you get the idea. Don't you just love fall? It's Christmas!
is that what you just pulled out?
Yes. So we're saying like down in the bottom section.
So I would think so. I don't want it to look like a circle of things stuck on. So this here needs a little more width, so it's not just all the same. So I don't know if we just move.
And we can also have the spray kind of going left and right to also thicken it up there. Yeah, what if we got those leaves down there? I love these colors.
Let's get another one of these. Where was this one? That was over here.
Yeah.
So I think this.
And if we need to fill in with pine cones just for illustration, I can grab some.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, if you angle it differently like that.
Like that.
And then this spray can go behind it, yeah.
We get a ribbon.
Looks pretty. So visually you can see what we're doing. I call this a dry assembly, meaning it's not a permanent assembly, it can be undone. I like to do this when I'm in the store because it helps me visualize what I'm actually getting and how it'll actually fit together versus getting home, starting to put things together and going, I don't like that so much. Alright, so here's what we ended up getting. Our grand total came to $42.48. Honestly, that was more than we had planned to spend, but there's a couple items like the ribbon, the big garland, the wreath that were higher priced items. Also, you see as I go through here, most of the picks weren't too bad, and remember, everything's 40% off, so the prices are a bit inflated, but then it's reduced because it's on sale. But anyway, some of the picks we didn't realize were like $5.99. I gotta be honest, some of these were pretty expensive for a floral pick, and some of them didn't seem to make sense, but things like the leaves, they were only $1.99. We saved 80 cents because they were 40% off. So I removed the tags from everything, and I would recommend that you hang on to the tags until you have everything assembled, because as you assemble, you might discover that, you know what, you've got enough on there and you can return some of the picks, and that's another way to bring the cost down on this if you end up buying more than you need. So be sure to hang on to the tags. Now, before I started assembling things, I took the wreath to the front door and I figured out what I wanted to be the top of the wreath. These are circular, but some of the wreaths are a little more squared off, some are a little more oval, And I knew that the section to the top left was still going to be exposed. So essentially I positioned it and figured out what section I wanted to be the top left that would still be seen. And then I just marked the top to help me as I assemble. All right, now for the fun part of putting the picks in. Before you start just sticking picks into there, I would recommend do a little bit of exploring. A lot of these things have wire inside of them that can be bent and posed. Also, a lot of these can be disassembled. My 2 or maybe 3 biggest pieces of advice for making a wreath like this is 1, investigate the construction of the pick itself. Is it wire? Can it be posed? Can it be disassembled? 2, if it's wire, fluff it. Just spread everything out. It's going to make it look so much more full, so much more natural. You can arrange things so it looks balanced. And tip number 3, don't be afraid to disassemble the picks. So here you can see I'm taking the leaves off of the picks. There's this other pick here that has wire and some of it's plastic, but again, I'm going to fluff the wire pieces, really spread things out. Look at how much more full that looks now that I have fluffed it. Again, I'm going to start by doing a dry assembly and then I'll go back in at the very end and hot glue things in place. I just find that works really well for me. Now those leaves that I disassembled, I'm going to tuck those in around this pick. I can tuck them under the pumpkin. Of course, right now it's not actually going to stay in place, so I will need to hot glue that later on. But this is my basic strategy. I'm going to take my picks, I'm going to fluff them if possible. I will maybe disassemble some of them and then add them into my wreath and just play around with it. The thing with wreath building is just take your time. There's no right or wrong. It's all about just fiddling around with it. If you don't like the way it looks, fiddle around with it some more. Fluff this, move that there. Just play around with it. Most of all, be sure to have fun. That's the whole point of doing DIY things. In addition to maybe saving money or getting a customized thing, it's to have fun. It's to be creative. There's no right or wrong way to do this. Now, some of my picks did have a bit of hot glue from assembly wherever they make these, so I did clean those up. So keep an eye out for that on your picks. But again, I'm fluffing it. Look how full this pick looks. Also, I'm going to take those leaves that I just assembled and I'm going to tuck them into here. It's going to add so much more depth and make this a very full looking pick. It turns out so pretty. Now, I really like this longer pick that has the little yellow flowers. I just think they're so cute and dainty. This one, when I tuck it in, I'm going to really spread it around and kind of nestle it around the other picks. And again, I'm going to take those leaves, tuck them on in there to add extra body to fill it out. I'm not sure if I've already said this in here, if you've heard my mom say this, but she doesn't want a wreath that's just a round circle. So I'm trying to make it really heavy and thick on the bottom. And then as it curves up, the sides get a little bit wispier. So you'll notice that the way I'm spreading things out is kind of creating that heavier at the bottom shape and then getting a little wispier and daintier as I go up the sides. Again, I'm just going to keep tucking the leaves on in there. All right, these bobble ball things, whatever you want to call them, we honestly weren't sure how we felt about these. I am so glad we kept these. This is a great one to disassemble. So this is made up of wire and then it's got paper wrapped around it. I just pulled the little wire arms off. I also cut some of them down so I could spread it out even more. So again, do not be afraid to totally destroy your picks. It'll all come together in the end. And from this one pick, which was honestly one of the more expensive ones, I feel like I actually got my money's worth out of it because I was able to spread it around the wreath, really add some extra texture and dimension, and I think it looked really nice. All right, so now I've got all my picks in place. I think this is looking so good already. Now I'm really excited to add in that garland thing. Again, this is one I am going to disassemble. So this one has some wire wrapped around it. I'm going to take that off, which hang on to the wire because you can always use those pieces later on to add things like the bow or to hold things in place better. But I'm going to take this garland and disassemble it, and there's these smaller individual pieces. You'll also see later on that I disassemble those small pieces into just the stems of white or just the stems of the orange beads. My goal here is to create a bit of a spray at the bottom left and right, but I want them pointing in opposite directions, so I needed to disassemble a little bit. I played around with assembling the smaller pieces together, but they were too floppy, so I took the thicker stem from the main garland and I wrapped the smaller pieces on there, which gave it a little bit of extra support and stability. So I kind of disassembled it and then reassembled it, just a smaller version. You know what? That's okay too. It might seem like extra work, but honestly, it got me the exact results I was going for. So that's what I really like about being able to disassemble these picks, is you can totally customize it and get exactly what you're envisioning. So then I did the same for the other side and I figured out where I wanted them to go. And then I wanted to incorporate these white notes and accents throughout the rest of the wreath because most of the wreath is very orange. And I also thought it'd be a good way to kind of create that thinning wispiness as we go up around the wreath. To really be able to get them exactly where I wanted, I just pulled it apart and I ripped off the individual pieces and tucked them in there. Y'all, I think these are really cute. This garland honestly was not cheap. It was one of the cheaper garlands, but a bit pricey, but I'm very happy with it. I feel like I really got my mileage out of it, and I've got a good bit left over so I can use it for another project. Okay, now for the bow. And I'm going to be honest, I kind of struggle with making bows. I do have a video about a way to make a bow if you want to check that out. I kind of finally have gotten a little bit better at it. I'm doing a really basic bow where you fold the loops in half and then we're going to fluff it at the end. Because this ribbon only has the pattern on one side, I do have to twist it in the middle. You can kind of see what's going on. Honestly, I'm not very well qualified to teach y'all how to make a bow. Either buy a bow or look up a different tutorial on how to make a bow if you're struggling with that. I mean, you can kind of see what I'm doing here, but again, bow making is not my forte. But fortunately, even with that said, my bow turned out pretty well. Now, I was able to use one of those extra wire pieces that I'd cut off of another piece of the florals to fasten my bow in the middle. Now, I didn't cut it off of the spool quite yet because I did want to get my mom's opinion on it. She had a very particular vision for the bow. And again, because bows are not my forte, it always helps to have a second set of eyes on this. So I had her come out and look at it. She was really excited. Oh, it's so beautiful. I just had my mom come out and look so you can make sure the bow and everything's turning out right. And we're very excited, to say the least.
I love it.
Anyways, she was happy with the way the bow looked, so then I just needed to cut a piece to add the tail. So I just took a long piece, folded it in half, and then I attached it with wire to the back side of the bow. And now that I've got everything already, I'm going to put things permanently in place with hot glue. This is kind of tedious. I don't have any great advice. I'm basically going through piece by piece and making sure I hot glue everything on there. I probably did miss a few pieces, but you really want to try to get everything glued in place. This wreath would have stayed pretty well just because a lot of these picks are wire at the end and I was able to really shove it into the grapevine. But the door's going to be swinging open and closed all season long. I want things to stay secure. I want this wreath to last. So basically, I'm just going through, finding each pick, and putting some hot glue at the base. You do want to work a bit methodically, so I worked in a counterclockwise direction so that way I didn't miss anything versus just randomly jumping around. Then for the ribbon, I was delusional and thought I could hot glue that in place. Yeah, that didn't work well. I ended up getting another piece of wire that I had cut off of one of my picks, and I used it to fasten the bow to the wreath. Last of all, I had those picks at the bottom. I shoved them into the bottom a little bit and then loaded it up with hot glue. And then it was time to show my mom, put on the door, and do any final last-minute tweaks. All right, here's what we've got. Okay, so do we like the way it's rotated?
Yes, a little rotate more.
I wrote that, yeah, because these are like kind of on the bottom. What do we think about the ribbon length?
They need to go a little wavy.
What does that mean, like?
Yep.
Like that kind of?
And tuck, yeah, and then tuck the left or tuck it behind. Beautiful.
Does it need anything else? Let me kind of tuck this piece in.
So the ribbon, see the rightmost loop?
Mm-hmm.
Where we're looking up into it, turn it, rotate stuff down so that
it's because it's different because it's like I'm not looking.
It's a different angle, yeah.
Anything else? Anywhere that looks empty, or we need to fill in more? Because I've got a lot of these that I can.
You put another one of those on that side over there.
What color? White or?
Oh, a white one on the outside and an orange one in the middle, maybe?
Here.
Mm-hmm.
Like in the center, which?
Sure. Whatever you want to do.
Do you want another orange one?
Yes. And maybe stick an orange one poking to the left outside.
Okay, that's perfect. You can probably not going to bother, but I'll just keep them.
It's beautiful.
Awesome. All right, well, thank you for giving me a project to do.
Thank you for making it for me.
That's right. So here we have it. This is the finished wreath, guys. I am so happy with how this turned out, and I'm really happy that my mom's really happy with how it turned out. She actually took a picture of the wreath and made it the wallpaper on her phone, so I thought that was kind of cute how much she enjoys it. But honestly, I think this is so pretty, and hopefully it inspires you to make your own wreath as well. And again, you can bring the price down by going with different picks than we did. We got a little carried away in the store and weren't really checking prices until we got to check, and we're like, But then again, at the same time, if you were to buy a pre-assembled wreath like this, it's honestly going to probably cost you in that $50 range anyways. With this, we were able to customize it, make it exactly what we want, and I've got extra ribbon and extra of that long garland left over. So thank y'all so much for watching. Thank you to my mom for coming up with this fun project for me. And I hope you all have fun with your fall DIYs and decorating. Happy crafting, y'all!